Welcome back to JCR Garage. It is May 17th, our Independence Day, 4th of July national holiday, sort of. It is the day we got our own constitution back in 1814. Now that is why I'm in a black shirt out in the sun. It's gonna be miserable and my hair is still wet because I showered. But this day, 50 years ago, about 20 maybe, I'm about maybe 20 kilometers, no, 20 kilometers, 200 kilometers away, there was a Ford dealer who had a new car to be delivered the next day, May 18th, which is the day this video goes live. It was back in 1968, and it was, of course, in Norway, which means Europe, which means there are more European Fords than American ones, i.e. the Granada right here is one of those. The other one, you just saw it, it is right behind my head. It's the Forest-Wreck Escort. That's right, it's a Forest-Wreck 1968 Ford Escort. Now I have checked the numbers on Ford Escorts that are still in existence in Norway today and registered. I found three 1968 Escorts registered before this one, back in 1968. And 1968 was the first year these were sold in Norway. I mean, they started in 1968 over in England, but 1968 was the first year. And also, another fun fact about this one, and a lot of the other ones, the German ones, the ones built in Germany, like this one is, the official production started in September. And this one was put together in April. And I think it says it right underneath the hood here. I think it was the Ford factory in Genk. No, it wasn't Cologne. Yes, Cologne. Cologne, Western Germany. This car was put together in 1968 in April. And that is a long time before official production started in September. Of course, you've seen this before. It is a Ford 2-liter overhead cam Pinto engine, essentially. The engine is not original to this car, of course, because the RS 2000 Escorts didn't come out until the 1970s. This car was originally a 1.1 liter Kent style engine from Ford. And well, it has a lot of, well, weathering to it, you could say. I mean, it has been on its side in a ditch for 40 years. Top of being on the side, it has been shot at. I hope you can get this on camera, because just underneath the sunline right here, there is a bullet hole, but there is another one up here, straight into the front fender. And walk along here, we can see the doors are dented. This, funny story, this was bent out so far that it was right about out here. A sledgehammer fixed that. Now the door works. This rear fender, passenger side, has been replaced once, because on the inside you can see the welds. And also actually underneath this you can see the welds too. You could probably see the joint between the two panels in there. It has a couple of rust issues left, this being one of them that I have to fix, and also it has, well, a shotgun blast, two of them, straight through the deck lid. Back still looks pretty good. You can see I have gotten the Escort badge on it. It was the only badge I had for it. And one taillight. That taillight is the one that was on the car. Not with the glass, because the glass I traded for some other parts. That glass and the front indicators. Now this rear fender is the one that was down in all those years, laying on it. Rusted up is pretty much just a colander. You can see this is the sound insulation mat that used to be on the inside. It has rusted through, so you can see the pattern in it. And there's, of course, this big ass holes everywhere here, and this entire wheel arch is mangled. But I'm gonna get another fender, probably just cut it right below this line here, get it replaced, because I'm thinking that's gonna be the best bet. Because I mean, if we're gonna start patching up all this, it's never gonna be good. No, even here, that's rusted up, and I even cut myself on it. Now, yeah, more shotgun blasts straight on the door. This front fender was rusted. The only part that was left of it was around here. I remember it's 50 years ago today. Well, this video comes out. It is 50 years ago this thing was sold brand new. In 50 years, I mean, this thing is mangled for 50 years old. The door, the inside of the door is pretty good. This is the side that was down, like I've said. I have had to slice the door open here and just tack it back together because I had to straighten the door back out because I couldn't get new ones. Well, you can get new ones, but I couldn't find the ones I wanted. Couldn't find them in red. Now, yeah, aesthetics on this car, really, yeah. I do have that yellow front fender in the back over there. That's gonna go on this side. I just haven't gotten around to putting it on yet. Things I've done to it on the inside here. You can see it started with the door opening. This is a Volvo 740 weather strip for the door. Because I scrapped one and I just figured, well, I need rubber, so I'll take it from there. Did the same with the trunk, one in there too. I had to buy a set of gauges, factory ones. Got them in the middle of winter. Car was under at least 5 feet of snow. Didn't really take me that long to dig it back out and put the gauges in just to look at it. Stuff I've done on the inside, of course, I have had to cut a big hole in the floor to get the shifters to come through, because the factory one comes up here and this was metal. There are still no brakes on the car, which is why when I drive it carefully. Except this clip. Now, in order to start this car, we have this switch up here. That sends power from the battery, which is currently located behind the driver's seat, to a block, distribution block that is right behind these 4 screws, to the fuse box, which sends then power to, we have ignition start, ignition, well, engine start, ignition, headlights. That's down is low beam, high up is high beam, indicators, left and right. Then there is, for registration purposes, I need heater, defroster, well, to get some fog off of the windscreen, that is mandatory, and windscreen wipers. Now, I have hooked the heater up once, so this actually worked once. The first thing I actually did was I took it off and refreshed it, just new wiring, made sure the heater core wasn't clogged and all that. But I mean, the car was 10 years old when it was dumped in the forest. It hasn't run long enough to clog up that. Now, the seats are some aftermarket racing style seats, well, sports style seats. Kind of cheap. I got them a trade for an engine swap on an Audi B5. Yes, there's been a lot of talk about Audi B5s on my channel. That is because they are everywhere, along with Volvos. Now, to start it, this is the ignition, like I've said. Lift the lid up. The fuel pump starts on the back, and you can hear the relays clicking underneath the dash. Make sure it's in neutral before we try this. Get my foot in. It is a very tight car to get in and out of, and you can see the throttle is down here. It's that tiny little speck you can see down there. That's the throttle, and it is, well, if I should have my foot straight up and down, it's hitting on the center console here. That's the throttle. Engine start, of course, the button that says engine start. None of these gauges are actually hooked up right now. This one, air fuel ratio, is hooked up to the O2 sensor, but it's not working. There's no exhaust, it's just a manifold, which is why it makes noise. Now, of course, with the car making this much noise, I'm not really driving it that much, but it doesn't have brakes either, so who would expect me to? Now, the reason there's an electronic fuel pump in the trunk is because I took the fuel tank out of a Ford Sierra I used to have, along with the rear wheels, actually came off that car as well. Took that fuel tank out because I needed an electronic fuel pump and tank to run the EFI setup I'm gonna run on this along with the turbo. But right now, the way the fuel system works on the engine harness that is in this thing, because the EFI harness is still in the car, it's just not connected to the engine because it's a carburetor engine. Now, that works in the way that when you flip the switch, well, flip the ignition on, it sends power to the fuel pump, which pushes fuel forwards, and right now it goes to a mechanical fuel pump on the engine, factory style one, that feeds the carburetor. But if you prime the fuel system before you try to start it with just a button and run the fuel pump, it will run straight through the fuel pump and up into the carb, and you will hear it start inside the carb. That is a good way to prime it, to cold start it. Now, different thing is I did put an EFI engine in here with a turbo on it originally. That was the first thing I put in it, but that blew up the first day I drove it. I drove it from, well, down there where the car usually sits, down by the garage. I drove it over there to the road, did a burnout through first, drag it into second, let go of the clutch, foot to the floor, well, laid wheel all the way through second, and was about to hit third when I realized, oh wait, I don't have brakes in this thing. So I was back down into first, released the clutch, overrevved the engine, and well, it fudded and farted and didn't really run right all the way back. Cut it around down there because the road goes here. Cut the ignition, just rolled in, and yeah, it was dead. Never started again. It had virtually no compression at all in any cylinder. It was just over-revved and worn out. Lobbed that one back out, put it in lineup for winter, because that's where it sits all winter, just in the lineup along with all the other cars. During that winter, I got this engine that's in it now along with the transmission. Bought that, put it in the car. Never fired it up, just put it in the car, got it sit where it should. And then spring came around, and this is spring last year. I went and found a different drive shaft because I needed a different one, because the splines on the output shaft of the transmission was bigger than the factory Escort drive shaft. So I got a different drive shaft. Cut the back end off of it to fit it to the original Escort rear axle. Got that done, put it back together, and it moved, but the clutch was worn out, so, well, I got a front fender for it, put it on the car, took a couple of pictures of it, and then the fender ended up in the car, and it sat all the way until May when I got this Granada. And then June I had an accident with an angle grinder and got that nice little lightning bolt Harry Potter style scar on my wrist. And then I was in a cast for about 2 months. Then life happened. I wasn't really a lot of time at home. I spent more time different places, and then October came around and I decided to fix the Granada because my Blazer was dead and the Escort still had a back seat to everything. But now, I feel this summer, the only big project I have is getting the V8 ready for the Granada, which means the Escort might get some more time. And in this run around, I think it's going to have to be get the front fender on, probably fix the rest of the rust so the chassis is good. Also try to get a good set of windows, like a windscreen, quarter glass for the doors, find the bar for the quarter glass for the passenger door, because that bar's been gone ever since I took the doors off of this thing. Because when I originally took them off, it was just to throw them away. But I figured it's easier to fix them than to get another pair, and they fit the car, so I did that instead. And of course, I put the plexiglass windows in the back, but you can see it even cracked when I put the screw in just to hold it in. I used 2 screws, one up here and one down here, just to hold it in the car. And then I think this is silicone. Siliconed all the way around the window. And the funny thing is, that the only reason I want to keep it this way, well, the original reason I wanted to keep it this way, were these stickers, because they were that good. They are old Castrol GTX Supermoto Oil 20V50. I really liked those sitting there, and I was like, I can't save those. The car doesn't need to look perfect, so why don't I just leave it this way, fix all the bad stuff, and get it roadworthy? Now, of course, I have touched on this before. One thing I have to do, because this thing's been off the road for so long, it's not in any computer system. So, in order to get this on the road, I have to pull the front suspension back off, because this is Capri 1600 GT front suspension with disc brakes, lower, and yeah, all that. I have to tear all that off, put the original drum brakes back on it, get an 1100 engine for it, put that in, get all the stuff just bolted back together as an original 1100 Escort, take it to the Norwegian Public Road Administration. I can never remember what the hell that name is the first time around, but this time I actually managed. And then have them look at it and register it as an original 1968 Ford Escort 1100. With that done, I can then apply, the same way I did with the Granada, I can apply to modify it into a 2-liter, and at that point I'm allowed around 225 horsepower. I can have a half cage in it, no problem whatsoever. And I can even get it registered legally with a Cosworth YB. But yeah, that'll be it for now. I am gonna have to prepare for the little barbecue we're having with a couple of friends. So yeah, like I said, that'll be it for now. Thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Also, remember the giveaway. The link is probably at the start of this video, up in that corner, as well as on the end card on the end of this video. Take care. I'll see you later.